Think about that one person in your life who always assumes the worst, the one who watches a genuinely kind gesture and immediately whispers, "What's the catch?" Maybe it's a co-worker, maybe it's a friend, or maybe, if you are being completely honest with yourself right now, that person is you. We live in a culture that glorifies the cynic. We label them the realists, the smart ones who see through the matrix of society. On the surface, they look absolutely bulletproof. If someone falls in love, it's just temporary biology. If someone does a good deed, it's just a hidden agenda. To the untrained eye, this endless suspicion looks like superior intelligence. It looks like they have the world figured out. But here is the paradox. What if I told you that the most cynical person in the room isn't the smartest? What if their sharp, sarcastic exterior has absolutely nothing to do with high intelligence? Dig just a few inches below that tough shell, and you won't find truth-seeking. You will find fear, paralyzing, overwhelming fear, because cynicism isn't a sign of being awake. It is the ultimate psychological armor, built desperately to protect a profound, unhealed wound.
I knew from the moment I saw him.
Before we dive into the deep psychology of an individual cynic, we have to zoom out, because we aren't just talking about a few isolated, grumpy people anymore. Look around. We are witnessing an entire generation of cynics. In modern culture, especially for millennials and Gen Z, we are living through a massive silent trust crisis. The world promised us a lot, and frankly, it delivered very little. Just look at how we date. In the era of swipe culture, it is incredibly easy to believe that true, enduring romance is a myth. When every connection feels replaceable, we preemptively reject people before they can reject us. We swipe left on hope. Look at how we work. We watch the relentless hustle culture burn people out, often rewarded only with sudden layoffs. The result? Quiet quitting. We look at the concept of corporate loyalty, roll our eyes and ask, why should I care when they clearly don't? We are swimming in a digital ocean of fake news, heavily filtered realities, and broken societal promises. When you are constantly bombarded by things that turn out to be an illusion, believing in anything starts to feel incredibly dangerous. Cynicism has evolved. It is no longer just a quirky personality trait. For millions of people today, it has become a collective survival strategy. It is a shared, heavy, emotional armor worn by a generation that is just desperately trying not to be disappointed again. But how does a person actually get to this point? To truly understand the cynic, we have to travel back in time, because here is the most heartbreaking truth of all. Nobody is born cynical. A baby cries expecting to be held. A child runs into a room expecting to be safe. Cynicism is not an innate personality trait encoded in your DNA. It is a learned survival mechanism. It is a forced adaptation to an environment that proved itself to be dangerous to an open heart. If you sit down with an extremely cynical person and peel back the layers of sarcasm, you will almost always find a backstory of profound betrayal. They were the ones who trusted entirely and were burned spectacularly. Maybe it was a romantic partner who lived a double life. Maybe it was a childhood best friend who stabbed them in the back when it mattered most. Or maybe it traces back even further to the adults they looked up to, who made promises they never bothered to keep. In these moments, trust wasn't just broken, trust was weaponized against them. And so, they transition through a very predictable psychological timeline. They start out as naive, believing in the good of everything. Then trauma hits, and they become aware. But the sheer pain of that awareness is too heavy to process. So they overcorrect. They move from aware to cynical. They lock the door to their emotional house and throw away the key. They internalize a harsh, silent lesson. Everything beautiful has a dark price tag, and it is usually fake. But to truly grasp how deep this defense mechanism goes, we have to look at one of the foundational concepts in psychology: attachment theory. Our earliest relationships write the coding for how we expect the world to treat us. Imagine a child growing up in an environment of chronic emotional neglect. This isn't always visible trauma. Often, it is a quiet, consistent absence. A home where caregivers were unpredictable, warm one day, distant the next. A place where promises were casually made and constantly broken. When a child experiences this inconsistency, their brain has to solve a terrifying problem. The people I rely on for survival are not safe to trust. To survive, they develop what psychologists call a dismissive, avoidant attachment style. This is the heartbeat of the modern cynic. As adults, they wrap themselves in a fierce, almost aggressive form of independence. They tell themselves a very convincing lie: I don't need anyone. I am fine on my own. Relying on people is a weakness. They will only let you down anyway. To the outside world, this looks like incredible strength. It looks like the ultimate lone wolf mentality. But here is what most people miss. The cynic isn't actually independent. Underneath that tough exterior, they are actively using what psychology refers to as deactivating strategies. They are subconsciously suppressing their innate human drive to connect. Why? Because if you convince yourself that you don't need love, you can never be devastated by its absence. If you never attach to a single soul, you never have to experience the agonizing withdrawal of them walking away. The dismissive, avoidant shield is incredibly heavy, but to the cynic it feels like the absolute only thing keeping them from completely falling apart. Think of cynicism not as a bitter personality trait, but as a highly advanced, fully automated emotional defense system. The very moment a cynical person encounters something genuinely positive, their internal alarm bells start blaring. When a stranger shows them unexpected kindness, their brain immediately runs a ruthless threat assessment. Why are they being so nice? What is the hidden agenda here? When a massive, life-changing opportunity presents itself, they don't celebrate. Instead, they instantly scour the details for the catch, the fine print, the inevitable reason it is destined to fail. And when they start to feel that dangerous, fragile, warm sensation called hope, they rush to pour ice-cold water over it. But why do we shut down like that? Because in the emotional mathematics of a cynic, they have internalized a very specific, tragic equation. Hope equals vulnerability, and vulnerability equals a massive, terrifying risk of pain. They have learned the hard way that falling from a very high place hurts significantly more than never leaving the ground at all. So they simply refuse to take flight. They stay firmly planted in the heavy, suffocating gravity of their own doubt. Don't hope, and you stay safe. This becomes their silent daily mantra, repeating subconsciously 1,000 times a day. It is the ultimate emotional shield. It works perfectly to keep the disappointment out. But here is the heartbreaking reality of wearing heavy armor. A shield does not discriminate. The thick walls built to keep the enemies out are the exact same walls that keep love out. This brings us to the greatest, most tragic misconception about cynical people. Society often labels them as naturally cold, chronically bitter, or fundamentally negative. We look at their constant sarcasm, their thick walls and their quick dismissals, and we make a very simple assumption. We assume they simply hate the world. But this is completely backwards. They don't hate the world. In fact, the heartbreaking psychological truth of the cynic is that they once loved the world entirely too much. Beneath the heavy, guarded armor of every cynic, you will almost always find the quiet ruins of a disappointed idealist. They used to be the true romantics. They were the believers. They were the people who poured 100% of their soul into others, genuinely expecting the universe to be a fair, kind, and beautiful place. And it was exactly because they believed so fiercely that their disillusionment was so catastrophic. When their hopeful worldview finally shattered, it wasn't just a tiny repairable crack. It was a devastating explosion. They didn't just lose trust in one bad partner, or one terrible friend, or one toxic environment. They lost trust in the entire concept of humanity. Cynicism is rarely an absence of faith from the very beginning. It is the thick, hardened scar tissue of a faith that was violently blown to pieces. They swung the emotional pendulum completely to the darkest, most suspicious extreme, because staying in the middle, staying soft, open, and hopeful, simply felt far too dangerous. Once the cynical shield is firmly in place, human psychology gets truly fascinating. Because a cynic is no longer seeing reality clearly. They are looking at the entire world through a heavily distorted, twisted lens. First, their brain relies heavily on confirmation bias. If they see a politician lying on the news, their brain instantly says, "See, I told you, everyone is completely corrupt." But if a stranger does something beautiful on the street, they simply ignore it or file it away as a weird statistical anomaly. Then comes the fundamental attribution error. If someone does a genuinely good deed, the cynic will immediately attribute it to a hidden, selfish motive. They just want a promotion. They just want to look good on social media. They literally strip the goodness out of the world just to fit their own dark narrative. But here is the deepest, most complex psychological layer of the modern cynic: cognitive dissonance. Have you ever wondered why a highly cynical person actually gets angry, uncomfortable, or highly suspicious when someone is just genuinely, unconditionally kind to them? It seems completely counterintuitive. Shouldn't they be happy to finally find a good person? No, because pure, unconditional kindness is a massive psychological threat. It directly contradicts the negative worldview they use to survive. If they accept that someone is truly unconditionally good, it creates an intense psychological friction, a painful dissonance. Admitting that genuine goodness exists means admitting that the world isn't entirely toxic. And if the world isn't entirely toxic, it means they don't actually need to wear this heavy, exhausting armor anymore. It means they have to lower their walls and be vulnerable again. And to a cynic's brain, vulnerability feels like a death sentence. So instead of accepting the love or kindness, their brain chooses the easier, safer route. It chooses to believe the other person is just a skilled manipulator, all so the defensive walls can stay safely intact. But why do they hold on to this negative narrative so tightly? Because cynicism offers something incredibly intoxicating: the illusion of control. If you constantly predict the absolute worst-case scenario, you can never, ever be caught off guard. It gives them a false sense of security and superiority. They tell themselves, "I understand the dark reality of human nature. I am awake. I cannot be fooled." If a relationship fails, they can confidently say, "I knew it wouldn't last." And somehow that hurts just a tiny bit less than admitting, "I really hoped this was the one, and I am completely devastated." They trade the beautiful possibility of joy for the strict guarantee of never being surprised. But the long-term bill for this defense mechanism always comes due. And the price is astronomical. You cannot selectively numb human emotion. When you aggressively numb yourself to disappointment and betrayal, you simultaneously numb yourself to joy, deep connection, and profound love. Wearing that heavy psychological armor 24 hours a day is exhausting. It leads to massive emotional burnout. Slowly, the cynical person slips into deep, quiet, emotional isolation. Because they constantly suspect the motives of everyone around them, they never allow anyone to get truly close. They push genuinely good people away with sarcasm and suspicion, creating a tragic, self-fulfilling prophecy. When those people finally walk away, the cynic smiles bitterly and says, "See, everyone leaves eventually." Yes, but they left because you gave them absolutely no room to stay. In their desperate attempt to avoid pain, they accidentally avoid happiness altogether. And here is the deepest, most heavily guarded secret of the modern cynic, the quiet truth they try to hide from everyone else, and most importantly, from themselves. Despite the impenetrable armor, despite the sharp sarcastic jokes and the constant eye-rolling, beneath it all, there is a starving inner child. A fundamental part of them desperately, achingly wants to believe. They want to believe in enduring love. They want to believe that someone can be kind simply for the sake of being kind, without any hidden agenda. They watch movies with happy endings in secret. They deeply crave the exact same genuine connection that they publicly mock. They want to be seen, to be held, and to finally feel safe. But the very second they feel that craving, the survival alarm system triggers all over again. Hope is dangerous. Step back. Mock it before it destroys you. They are caught in a torturous, exhausting psychological paradox. They are absolutely starving for genuine human connection, but they are utterly terrified of the meal. They are dying of emotional thirst, but they refuse to drink the water because they are convinced it is poisoned. And so, they remain trapped in the quiet ache of their own making.
Looking back, I realized.
So how do we dismantle a fortress that took years to build? The answer is not toxic positivity. You don't have to suddenly become a naive optimist who blindly trusts every stranger. Healing from cynicism is simply about moving from blind defense to discernment. It starts with taking emotional micro-risks. When you feel the immediate urge to doubt someone's kindness, pause. Ask yourself, am I reacting to what is happening right now in the present, or am I reacting to a ghost from my past? You don't have to fully believe in their goodness yet. Just crack the door open. Let someone do a small favor for you. Practice saying, thank you, instead of silently wondering, what do they want? And if you love a cynic, don't try to argue with their worldview. You cannot debate someone out of trauma.
Thank you.
Just be consistent. Provide the safe, steady, emotional baseline they never had. Because at the end of the day, cynicism isn't a badge of superior intelligence. It is simply the lingering, tender scar of someone who once trusted too deeply and was hurt too profoundly. It's time to put the armor down. It's heavy, it's exhausting, and the war is already over. If this video helped you feel seen, or helped you finally understand someone you love, you are not alone. Please leave a comment below and share your story with us. We talk about the quiet parts of the human heart here. And if you want to keep exploring the human mind together, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Welcome to our healing community. Thank you for watching.